Welcome to Cursed, a bi-weekly podcast that investigates the liminal spaces, from everyday witchcraft to the haunted and the phantasmic. Hang out with us as we explore our personal experiences with the unknown and celebrate our craft. And now, episode 2, Sticks and Stones.
And Kudzu. Before we get started, because this was recorded before we had any patrons, we got to do our patron shout-outs.
Yes, we have 3 awesome supporters on Patreon. We have Melissa,
Tamara,
and
Joanne.
Yay! Thank you guys so much. And definitely, if you're not on our Patreon yet, definitely check us out there. For just $1 a month, you can get probably 15 to 30 minutes extra ghost stories. So
every week between our shows.
Yeah. So go check that out for sure. Cursed episode 2. Did we come up with a name? We didn't we? Local haunts?
So local, we're keeping in what? Working with local...
Work with what you got around you.
Supplies and stuff,
yeah.
Yes. Like farm to altar or some shit.
Kind of like that.
Organic witchcraft or something, I don't know. We'll come up with a good one.
Pesticide free.
Yeah. Non-GMO.
Alright, so... Hi guys, how are you? It's Cricket and Bones here again. We're gonna talk at you a little bit, and we're going to discuss how to practice witchcraft with what you got around you instead of having to run over to, the store.
Europe.
Yeah.
Unless you live in Europe. Do we have a reach that far yet? No.
No, probably not. But if you do...
The idea is the same.
If you want to send us chocolate.
English chocolate.
I don't know. I'm not big on Cadbury. It's too, they're really big into Cadbury, and it's all super like waxy and dairy. I really like dark chocolate, like Belgian chocolate.
So when we were in Ireland for our honeymoon, we went to this little chocolate shop. There was Jameson fudge. So we're like, fucking down. But it wasn't what you thought it was. It was fudge that wasn't sweet and just tasted like whiskey. So Tori didn't like it. Well, I liked it. And it was like, if you ever wanted to chew
chewy whiskey.
If you ever wanted to chew your whiskey, that's where you go. And then we went back and got chocolate fudge with whiskey in it, which was satisfied that craving. One of the things that we touched on in the last episode, if you listened in order, if you're like that kind of person,
like me,
who has to,
like me,
start at the pilot episode, then we talked a lot about walking out your back door, working with spirits around you, things like that. That is in the same vein as this episode, which is working with all your local plants and herbs, things like that, how to work within your community and work with your community, because everybody needs a village witch.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a bunch of them. Yeah, you don't have to go buy
Sometimes you have a village of witches.
Yes. And you don't have to go buy some weird, like, fucking herb that grows on the backside of some mountain in a country you've never heard of. You can go and grab... Like, what did I say last time? Kudzu? Because there's a lot of that around here.
Yeah, there is.
I've never used it. For one, and this is a total tie-in to the first episode, you should go listen to it, is honeysuckle. Mm-hmm. Like, growing up, is fucking everywhere here. Mm-hmm. And it smells great. It tastes great because you pull off the little flowers and you'd, like, bite off the end and, like, suck out, like, the tiniest drop of nectar. So it's everywhere. And I've always liked the smell of it. So it wasn't until recently a friend of mine was distilling a tea out of honeysuckle leaves or petals or whatever. We started looking at the properties of it, and it's good for spirit work. Mm-hmm. So that's another little homegrown instinct thing where it's like when I started working with Hecate, the idea of finding Googling and finding the 101 kind of basic associations and things like that, you see a ton of them. What you didn't see, and what I decided to use for some reason, was lavender. It wasn't until later I found out that was connected to her, which it would make sense. I can see it being in that whole Mediterranean area, but it's not something that was prevalent. Mm-hmm. And it felt right, and I used it, and I got some real quick response there. And now there's always lavender around my house. It's something like that that you'll use like an instinct. So maybe that, well, maybe not the fungus or mushroom, because you could end up doing something to yourself. But
That's
like
true.
that
Maybe,
little thing you find outside
maybe
that's
don't
interesting.
eat just anything.
Well, okay, don't eat it, but yeah, taste it first.
You have to lick it before you eat it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Parks and Rec reference again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, when I talked about my familiar, it is April Ludgate. That's what it is. In case you were wondering.
Have you seen, speaking of Aubrey Plaza, have you seen The Little Hours on Netflix?
No, I don't
With
think
Aubrey
I
Plaza.
have.
Oh. Go watch it. Go home and watch it. You have homework.
Okay. But yes, she'll, for all intents and purposes, she's my familiar now. Mm-hmm. So if you want to hang out with us. So anyway, the honeysuckle, like, that's something I grew up and I was familiar with. So to find out you can use it in witchcraft, imagine how excited I am.
Yeah.
And to find that there's a little nook bush of it growing in my backyard.
Yep.
You'd be surprised how much is out there, and you don't even have to have a book confirm it for you. If you feel like it's useful for something, then use it for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we want to go back into like kudzu and stuff like that, kudzu would be great for, I want to say, prosperity magic, because think of how quickly it grows and multiplies.
Shit, I like
and
that.
Yeah,
and it's green.
Yeah,
which here it connects to money here.
And by the way, kudzu is edible. It doesn't taste all that great.
Yeah,
but it is edible.
I heard from Alton Brown that you can eat it like a salad.
That's right. Yeah, it's not great tasting.
He's
but you
also
can eat
one
it.
of my familiars.
Yes. Oh my God, love him.
Yeah, you're not desperate at all.
Total science nerd.
Yes, but I like that idea with kudzu.
Yeah, so you could use it for that, and I mean, it's damn near impossible to kill.
Oh yeah, you can't fucking kill it. So your wallet will never.
Yeah.
Let's go get some right now.
I know, right? So, and I mean, it just keeps growing back. You have to go in at the root and cut it out and get it all, or it will come back. And it's drought resistant and everything else. So, it was originally brought over here from Japan, I want to say.
Yes.
To help, because we clear cut so many trees away in with logging and stuff like that in the Carolinas, that we had an issue with erosion with all the rain and stuff. Crops were literally being washed out, so they brought in the kudzu and as a form of
it's this weird thing like where you
protector.
Fuck with the environment and the ecosystem,
and shit happens.
And then you try to bring in something else. It's the whole
that's invasive
What's the thing about the old lady who swallowed a fly and like you keep. Because it's like, okay, well, you've got like we've brought in this invasive species. We need to bring in this to get rid of it, and now these have exploded, and but now kudzu is our native plant.
I mean, it should be the state flower because it's more prevalent than dogwood. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It should be our state plant because it is everywhere.
It is.
We don't even recognize it anymore. I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
I know. It's just my mom has a huge patch of it that's growing in her backyard that is full of wasps and is pulling down the back fence again.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, again. Every year, every summer, this is a fight, and it's not even on like her property, but whoever owns that property doesn't take care of it, so it becomes a problem for us. So
yeah, it's all those spirits they pissed off because they
my God, I know.
take care of it. With that, you mentioning dogwoods, my grandfather loved dogwoods, so if I ever wanted to like do something there with that, there's a couple in my yard. I would that would associate with him. It's a personal connection.
Yeah, but I'm also sitting here going, I've always heard that you shouldn't bring dogwood inside the house.
Oh, well, I haven't heard that. Is that a bad thing?
I've heard it's like it's a really, really bad thing.
Oh, we'll have to look at that up.
Yeah.
Or if somebody knows why, you can tell us.
I'm not sure why, but that's just something that I've always heard is that you shouldn't bring dogwood inside the house, or it can bring like misfortune.
Don't bring kudzu in the house. It'll go
definitely don't do that. Plus, it's full of bees.
Bees. Actually, and speaking of bees, I like the connections with bees. They're, so connected to everything. You can connect them to Hecate and stuff, but it's just like now more than ever, the appreciation and the respect and like the education that's out there now about why they're so important. Honey I use in so many offerings.
Oh, me too.
And
everything loves it.
Yeah, you can go get the little teddy bear looking honey jar, from your grocery store, or you can find local honey, which tastes so much better.
It really does. And not only that, but if you're actually consuming it yourself too,
it helps with allergies.
It does, because it's exposing you to, the local like flora and helps you build up a tolerance.
For someone like me who's allergic to all sorts of things, that would be very helpful. So yeah, honey, I always throw in some honey on any offering, and it's just, it's a good, and you can use it in, one of my favorite things is a honey pot spell.
Yeah.
Or a honey jar. And literally all you do is, if you want to sweeten somebody to you, you can write their name down, put that in a jar, fill that with honey, and then give it a shake every now and then, kind of put those intentions out there. Yep. You can do the same thing with vinegar jar for the opposite effect, or urine if you want.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So you can put anything in a jar with somebody's name in it, and there's a use for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honey, like I said, I don't know if you find any local... They seem to be more prevalent now, but beekeepers or something, if you can get from them, kind of support that.
Honestly, a lot of beekeepers or even farmers themselves will have beehives that they'll tend to in order to help their crops flourish. So maybe check out your local farmers markets and stuff like that. That's one of the best places that I go to. Number one, get fresh produce or, local like artisan goods like baked breads and stuff like that. I think there's actually a lady who comes who sells the honey, but then will also sell like beeswax candles and stuff that she's put in like really beautiful molds and things. All kinds of stuff. I love going to the farmer's market. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, you can find all sorts of stuff. We've gotten basil from there, and that goes back into what we mentioned about working with plant spirits and getting to know those plants. Go to your farmer's market, find something local that's tied to that area. Take care of it and use it in your spells. Basil is good for all sorts of things. It's just kind of being aware of your surroundings and that kind of thing, because sometimes we're so busy, and again, a farmer's market. Like, I look around here, you don't have a backyard because you live in apartments.
But you
still have access to all that you could want with.
Yeah. So, there are lots of local parks and graveyards and stuff like that in the area that I'll go to and frequent. Because around here, because I'm in such a historic district, there's lots of old graveyards that are within walking distance of me, which is really neat. I can go and I can walk to some of these graveyards, and there'll be any number of flora and stuff that I can use, because they're tending it, and they're tending it as a garden. So there'll be all kinds of flowering things and herbs and all kinds of stuff. So maybe check out something like that, see if there's something like that in your area, because I love doing things like that.
Another easy thing that I've got here are same thing with kind of plants. And I'm not the greatest at this, but learn like your local trees. Learn their associations. They're already there. We have oak trees in our yard, and oak is so good for everything. And we have a pine tree in the front with a ton of deadfall. And guess what fuels our Yule and Halloween Samhain bonfires is the deadfall that I cut up. For Yule logs, we do that every year. Pine is always a good one for the upcoming year, and for prosperity, and not just money-wise, but like health and happiness and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
We just use the pine in my yard. We don't have to cut down a tree. It's just already fallen off.
Yeah.
We decorate it. There's a holly bush in our yard. I take clippings of that. There's some, I think it's like a type of cypress. It's got those cute little pine cones on it. I take those and wrap them on them. And then like the big pine cones, like you can use those too for stuff that falls. So you don't even have to like grow or buy or something. Just use what
is around you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things too, is I think that recently witchcraft has become very commercialized, and it's been all about, buying certain things. I mean, let's look at the infamous Sephora witch kit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a commercialness and a shallowness to that I didn't appreciate, because I feel like it's making this work that I practice a commodity. And it is very valuable, but it doesn't mean that it should be sold at a big box chain store. And I think, with the rise of social media and Instagram and everything, I feel like everybody feels like your witchcraft has to be super pretty. You have to have the prettiest altar tools. You have to have the prettiest stones. You have to
it's
have...
just like the lunch, taking pictures of your lunch.
Yeah.
Or food or whatever.
It's still going to do the job. It really should only be pretty if it makes it more special and more powerful to you. Otherwise, the work is work. It's going to work whether it's, with the $30 specially made candle that you bought from some, witch on Etsy, and your, non-GMO, locally grown, rose petals and this and that and the other. Or, the rose petals that you got out of the bargain bin at the grocery store because the roses were already half dead, and the candle you got from the dollar store. Witchcraft is witchcraft, and it doesn't always have to be, perfectly set up altars. And I mean, honestly, sometimes the best thing you can do and the best witchcraft you can do is to just tell somebody to fuck off anyway. So
yeah, but sometimes treat yourself.
Sometimes treat yourself.
Because I'm guilty of taking pictures of stuff, not because I think it's pretty, but
bitch, me too.
But okay, so I'll have this
you've seen me post online.
Yeah.
I do it. It's
But what you don't see is that I didn't take pictures of me digging the hole, burying the poppet, saying my curses, cleaning it in the dirt out from under my nails, covered in ashes. All in all, just fucking bringing all that back in. The hammer that's
still covered in red clay mud from where I had to have something to dig out the hole.
Yeah, but I'll take a picture of the candle and the honey that I left. But don't get caught up.
I like having those visual reminders because every time I think about it, I charge it a little bit. I send it a little bit of juice,
Yeah.
So.
But speaking of that, dirt was on my list of things to cover. And burying.
All kinds of different kinds of dirt too.
Yeah. And red clay is everywhere here.
Yeah.
There's many of uses for it. I don't really have any around me. What I like to bury stuff to make it permanent or finalize it or disperse it. It works the same as burning. Yeah. But I'm not as connected to the element of fire. I love it, but I'm not some of my friends that are like pyromaniacs over here.
Like me.
Yeah. But
talking about
I like to bury things in the dark to never be seen again. That's a very earthy, earthy elemental thing to do. And something dug up my little meat poppet I buried. But somebody else had plans, I guess. Raccoons, probably.
Well, you know what? Now that raccoon is noshing on it. So,
oh, yeah.
Tearing it limb from limb.
It ended up the same way.
That's right.
It just, it was a little zombie meat poppet that got out of the grave. Like we mentioned last episode with the graveyard dirt. Okay, so I got some from this really pretty cemetery in Savannah. Bonaventure? Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I like it. You know what?
I'm guilty of not having... It almost feels so special that you don't want to use it.
Right? And,
yeah.
But I'm also guilty of the fact that, I don't have any graveyard dirt right now from a local cemetery. Mm-hmm. What am I even doing? You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'll give you a mason jar and send you up to Oakwood.
Do as I say.
Not as I do.
Not as I do. Yeah. But no, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't have it. I just need to go out there and get it. Graveyard dirt's good for protection. I know everybody hears it, and it sounds scary, and it sounds evil and spooky, and you can use it in curses, but its best use is for protection. And like we mentioned in the spirit episode, if you get it, be respectful, be mindful, leave your offering, ask permission, be thankful, be careful where you get it from, because if you get it from someone's grave, it's going to be tied to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, collect graveyard dirt from wherever you go.
Yeah. So how would you recommend, to somebody who's completely new, how would you recommend to them to use it for protection?
Oh, you can sprinkle it in your food. No, what I like to do is use it in mojo bags. Okay, or a little thing. You can you'll put it in vials. I like to add it just a tiny bit to different incenses I make for people or herb blends. I think just even kind of having it, and it sounds weird, not playing with it, getting your
fingers in it.
Yeah, and just kind of feeling it, and you're not only connecting to the associations with graveyard dirt as being protection, but what else are you doing? You're grounding yourself because you're putting your hands in dirt and you're feeling that cool soil. Now, to the coffin nails, those are the other thing that sounds scary, and they're very good for cursing, but they're even better for protection. You'd be hard-pressed to come across coffin nails, legitimate ones, so the best thing that you can do is find some cool little nails. They can be fancy-looking square head nails. They can be nails from Walmart. I don't give a shit. But if you bury those, or bury them, if you put them in a jar with the graveyard dirt, and you leave them a little bit, kind of put some intent there, then you've essentially got your coffin nails. And that's what, when you see those being sold online or in a metaphysical shop or a witch shop, that's what they did. Like I said, you're lucky if you find actual coffin nails, or if you dig deep enough and you can get them yourself. But
well, I mean, I'm not gonna...
For a nail. Yeah. So that kind of, you're symbolizing the nail as being buried in cemetery dirt. That makes it a coffin nail. So those are good. I like to tie those in little equal arm crosses with like a red string. Put those in a mojo bag. Those make a really good, like a protection, kind of warding off. And you can use them in curses too. Nothing like, I mean, driving a nail into somebody's name or a piece of paper.
Or a piece of raw meat.
Yeah, just like shutting that shit down. Yeah, been there.
No exceptions.
And like, did the raccoon take the nails too? I could use those.
I mean...
But, so I find... myself going through a lot of nails, and it's just so fucking weird. It's luckily I don't have a flat tire from them. I'm like, shit, I need more nails.
Yeah.
And then my friend was nice enough to give me a bag that he had found of these really cool looking old nails.
Oh,
and,
cool.
He keeps asking me about them, and I don't know what I did with them.
Oh no.
They've not been changed into coffin nails, but they're somewhere. I'll find them when I need them. It was probably a
spirit.
Yeah, a spirit that
came and wanted to borrow
like,
for a minute.
Calm down.
Yeah. But yeah, you talked about putting the equal arm, like, coffin nail and the graveyard dirt in like I immediately saw a red mojo bag and like hanging it over the front door. You know, like that would be perfect to like ward off any kind of negativity or whatever from entering your house. And
now, so my mojo bag, I didn't make it. I had it like custom made off somebody at Etsy. But I had them use copperhead skin. Because you know what's around here is fucking copperheads.
Love
a copperhead, if you think a venomous snake, now again, they said it was like a ethical thing, so I'm hoping it's not. But you know, sometimes you get in these gray areas. But if you can find out and make sure your sources are ethical, please do that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not advocating kill these animals just to get a witchcraft part, because you can find bones. Like, we'll get into that in a minute about all the bones and stuff we find out in the woods. A copperhead is very prevalent around these parts, and
copperhead's pretty prevalent through most of the country. Right. Like my brother's got them out in Kansas and stuff. So,
but it's not like some kind of exotic thing that you're not going to be,
right?
You know, so if I want to connect to the spirit of copperhead, work with that, I can. I think in my current mojo bag, I've also got a little rattlesnake fang in a vial that was gifted to me by my wife. Some wolf fur that she found in New Orleans.
Cool.
That actually comes locally from us, somewhere in the mountains.
The wolf sanctuary. Yeah.
And they sell the shed fur, and a portion of that money goes back to fund the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Now, wolf fur is good for protection. Pack mentality and stuff like that. So I like to put that in stuff I give people for protection. You know, that's a local critter.
Yeah.
It's funny, she picked it up in New Orleans, and it comes from the wolf sanctuary here in our state. But little things like that. So when we say local, don't think, okay, it has to be in my backyard or around my vicinity. If you can explore it, you can find it. You know what I mean? We go to the mountains all the time. And that's
I bring stuff home all the time.
Right. That's about an hour, 2-hour drive for us. If you live near the beach, my wife has all the shells and sand you can think of from, I mean,
all kinds of different beaches and water and stuff like that.
Right. And
friends bring me back stuff all the time.
She eats that shit up. So I've got snake skins. I've got all sorts of stuff. Even at work, there was this entire snake skin from the tail all the way to the head, completely intact. I was like, I found it at work. And
that's nice.
And it's weird. So, I mean, and you could just look around and stuff and find things. Things will speak to you. Like you mentioned Quartz Hill and all the different quartz out there. How many things of quartz do we have that we found? Because like, ooh, pretty.
Yeah.
Ooh, pretty. Yeah, you can go buy that $50 chunk of quartz. Or
you could go to your favorite waterfall and pick up a really smooth, pretty stone that calls to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not
as
saying
long
not
as the
to buy
spirits say it's okay.
the quartz.
Yeah.
You can.
Why
But,
not
like,
both?
Right. Why not do both?
¿Por qué no las dos? I'm sorry.
Okay. I like that idea, and that kind of went off into the mojo bag. The more I was thinking about it, I'm like, my mojo bag's full of some real local kind of tied into that.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, so that's how I would use graveyard dirt.
Yeah.
Minus the tangent. But that's how I use it. It doesn't even have to be graveyard dirt. Use your dirt. If you want to feel grounded and you want to carry a little piece of you from somewhere, take a little bit of the dirt. I would do the same thing. I would still leave a little offering. The thing is, with the graveyard, the reason you would leave a tobacco or pennies or whiskey is because, especially in the South, the big thing, and we've touched on, was whiskey and bourbon is a big offering for them. Tobacco, I mean, it's so local here and it's grown here. And I smoke, so that's always handy.
Plus, it's sacred to, a lot of the native tribes that were here in the area as well. Right. So they used it as an offering as well. So that's a tradition that goes back. So you can use
sage, but try some tobacco.
Yeah.
Go smoke a cigarette, children. We're already in trouble. This is our second one. You can get tobacco leaves dried out and shit. It doesn't have to be a menthol cigarette, but use what you got.
Yeah. Use what you have on hand, and I think that's the biggest thing about my witchcraft is it turns out being a lot more like MacGyver.
Yes, I'm on that same level.
Yeah, so it's like I'd much rather go out and grab some sticks from the yard and use that than have to get dressed, go all the way down to the shop. You know what I mean? So I just use what I have on hand. Going and grabbing spices and stuff that I have in the cabinet, grabbing some chili powder, hot-footing the bugs that had been tormenting me for the past 3 months. As I was moving out, I hot-footed them and made them move to where my roommate, the guy who owned the house, was, because he refused to acknowledge that they were even there and tried to even blame me for bringing them in. So I said, I see you, fool. You don't want to treat it? You want to leave me here in the house with that shit while I have the flu? Nah. So I put some chili powder down, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he had the bed bugs and he had to tent the house. So, I mean...
It works on all sorts of things.
Yeah. So, I mean, you do what you got to do. And I think that's... I think... necessity is the mother of invention, and I think it's really about,
You can use McCormick herbs. Like, you don't have to be so...
there have been many times when I've gone in there and been like, I know that there's, like, lavender and herbs de Provence. That'll work. You do the best with what you got, and I would much rather go outside and work some magic with a stick. Have you seen Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay. One of the first episodes where she's calling her familiar and she's winding the thread around that. Yeah. That's one of the most beautiful scenes in that whole show.
I say of course I watched it, but I have not watched the second season yet.
Have you not? No, it's the first episode. In the first season.
No, I know, but I mean, like, I haven't watched the newer one, episode. So it's like I'm not as on point as I sound like I am. But yes, I've watched the first season. For what it is, like, there's a lot of stuff in there that you could tell they did some research.
Well, actually, a lot of their writers are actually pagan.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So a lot of their writers are actually pagan, and I think Mat Auryn actually sat down and did an interview with one of the writers of the show who wrote a lot of the spells and stuff, and he's a practicing pagan.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of neat to see that sort of thread of real witchcraft through a Hollywood made-for-muggles kind of show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm surprised it's so popular, because some of that shit in there is like, I know I'm about it.
Yeah.
But like, now, we've got the first collection of the comic version of that.
Oh, and, nice.
I've not read it yet. Yeah, it's like you just don't expect it. It's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
My friends gifted us pentagrams made out of twigs and vines and to hang around the house. There is a place for manufactured items and go into your local store, and that's the difference here. They're probably a little easier to find now. You had to kind of deal with like your local metaphysical store, which was kind of like new agey, and maybe if you're lucky you could find something. And then we're fortunate enough to have one near us that has like that idea of kind of what we would consider like essentials of I need some more of this herb, or I need an iron spike, because my house has the iron spike protections all around it. The railroad spikes. Put some sigils on there, anoint them, put them down, protect your shit. So it's not, like I said, it's not too hard to find all of this stuff, especially for people starting out that think, because we were there, that think you have to have this, and this on your altar, and I need to spend money. It's not to say I haven't spent money on... Well,
I've dropped some bank.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have bouquets of, hydrangeas that I went and picked out of somebody's backyard or something, hanging up on the wall.
Sometimes you have to trespass. Do crimes and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. Be gay, do witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's frequent that I'll just pick up an herb, or I'll pick up a stone or something like that I see. I'll pick up I do a lot of work with flowers in my craft, and I'll often leave them as offerings. In fact, one of the first spells I ever did was floating little yellow heads of dandelion in a bowl of water. And I actually used it to scry before I ever knew what any of that meant.
But aren't those weeds?
They are. And they're also sacred herbs that are sacred to Hecate. And I had no idea at the time.
Yeah, I picked a bunch out of my yard last year because my friend wanted to make a dandelion wine. And I had a fucking grocery bag full of them, and he's like, yeah, it's not enough. And I was like, well, I cut the grass after, so yeah. I mean, those are everywhere. And I'm like, well, I wish I had used them for something else than giving them to you to make us a delicious wine. But here we are.
That's like one of my friends actually...
and bees love them.
Yes. One of my friends made a honeysuckle jam or honeysuckle jelly. You have to have... just pounds and pounds and pounds of the stuff because it just cooks down to nothing.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, that friend that gave me some, it's bitter, but it's one, I think she used the root of it, and the other, I don't know.
I'm
used
fucking
all this
flowers
up.
Or something.
Yeah, the flower.
Yeah. When she made the tea?
Yeah. And she also she distilled it. She did her whole little on the pot with the bowl and let it condense or condensate and drop down and collect that. She also says she does infused vodkas where she just buys vodka and then sits them in there. So she was going to do some honeysuckle ones. So I'm all for that.
Heck yeah. One of my favorite things is elderflower.
Yes, and you know what? That's good with gin and tonic. Is elderflower.
Yeah.
That's not witchcraft. That's just cocktails.
That's just cocktails. One of my favorite drinks. Have you been to?
I should have had a cocktail for this. Gin to really feel the botanicals and to really get into the mind space.
Yeah, there you go.
So what's this place?
Growlers, with the big wooden door.
Yes, I love that place.
Yes. Have you had the Pliny the Elder? It is a Pilsner and ginger ale and or maybe it's ginger beer and elderflower liqueur. It's my favorite thing in the whole world.
And then there's one that's is it Magic Hat? There's one that has elderflower in it too.
Yeah.
But I don't know much to know. I guess do they grow around here?
No, I think they're mostly Scandinavia.
So yeah, that's not local, but I mean...
No, but I love anything elderflower, elderberry.
But if you find it in your local ABC store, then it is local.
There you go.
Now it's local. And you can use it.
Now the Saint Germain is local.
Right. And so what I don't...
Or I guess they don't really have ABC stores across state lines, do they? It'd just be a liquor mart.
I don't know.
Or the grocery store.
Check with your local state.
Some places just have liquor in the grocery store.
Yeah, they're lucky. We don't.
I know.
Like I said, we use whiskey. That's a big one for local spirits. They always like whiskey. You could probably get away with doing any kind of liquor or alcohol, but then when I leave stuff for Hecate or something, it's always wine. I never feel okay leaving beer.
Yeah, she's not a beer or whiskey kind of person. She's red wine. Or maybe I could do a pomegranate liqueur or something like that. That would be okay.
Yeah, I have pomegranate honey I got at the Ren Fair.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I use it and it's delicious.
Even things like dandelions and honeysuckle that people would consider to just be weeds, would be perfect to use in a spell. You could even, use honeysuckle and some of the honey in a spell like the sweetening jar, so you could add the honeysuckle to it too.
Yeah. And actually, okay, I do need to say, I think honeysuckle is poisonous to a certain extent if you're talking about the leaves. So don't like listen to this and be like, I'm gonna make some tea from honeysuckle and go like get poisoned. Do some research. Don't just make that shit yourself. Yeah, I mean, my friend's a complete amateur, but she's done it enough. But I think the flowers are fine.
Yeah,
it's just like the leaves and stuff, which is kind of what I joked about earlier with mushrooms and stuff. You can use them unless you're like no on that shit. Don't go eating random mushrooms outside. It doesn't mean you can't use them in like an offering or something.
But maybe check some of your local like community colleges or parks departments and stuff like that, even some of like the state parks and things that are near you, and see if they have, you know, like hiking tours or whatever where they'll, you know, teach you about the local flora and fauna.
So where did we stop with? You were talking about honeysuckle sweetening.
Yeah. So you could add that if you don't have like local honey or something like that. You could maybe use like the honeysuckle flowers or something like that, and maybe like some fresh berries or whatever you have like around you in order to make the sweetening jar.
Yes. Yeah, you could do that. You could use sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anything. The idea is anything sweet.
Yeah.
Just any kind of jar that you got laying around.
Oh my god. Yeah, me as a witch, I collect all the jars. I don't like throwing away jars.
Ton of jars. But then like another thing that I mentioned here is something super easy is collecting rain. You can sit it out, bless it, or have it kind of charged with full moon or whatever you want. With it, if there's a special, if there's a particular heavy storm that comes through, I know we both have connections there with storms. We live in an area where thunderstorms this time of year are very frequent, really awe-inspiring. Like they can be super. If you want that power, that essence of that storm, get some of that rainwater. Maybe boil it, because we've run into the problem of we just pop a cork in it and then some mold and shit start growing on top. But maybe boil your bottles if you want to keep it for a long time. And those storms, I think, because we just talked about this too, if there's a certain energy that you want out in a spell or a curse or something, do it during a storm. I mean, be safe. Don't be out there with a metal rod and shit. But like,
open the windows and
because there's a lot of energy going on there.
I mean, that's something that's really common in a lot of like folk remedies and stuff like that, and folk belief. You know, you should be cleaning with your windows open anyway. You know, because otherwise the spirits can't get out. So
the stuff you don't want to get out, or the stuff you want out, won't get out if you don't crack something. In that same idea with the storms and using it and everything, kind of, I mean, you could do that with whatever you want. I guess if it snows and you really want to use snow for something, you can freeze water. Like that's good for stopping things. Like if you want to stop somebody from doing something to you, you can always freeze their name in water. And you could take that one step further and use that storm water to freeze that person, thaw them out and leave them out to dry. I mean, you could do all kinds of shit. Like it's all like kind of, you go off what you feel and you go off what feels like it would work for you, because then that would in turn help amplify your intentions, because that's kind of what you're trying to do anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I practice, I use a lot of crystals and minerals and stuff in my witchcraft. So honestly, what I'll do is I'll actually look up like the chemical components, and then I'll look up how it forms. So is it more liquid? How does it solidify? What does the crystal structure look like? And then I'll take all of that into consideration as I perform my spell.
Yeah, we put a lot of science in our shit.
I do. I honestly apply a lot of the same stuff to the plants and things that are around me as well. Like with the kudzu, when I was talking about how you could do it for prosperity magic, you know, because it's relentless, it's hard to kill, it's green, it grows so quickly, you know. So if you need something that where you really want to speed it up, maybe take a vine from some kudzu and wrap part of your spell or whatever with it, you know, and tie it off to kind of hurry things along or speed it along. Think about the way that things grow, the way that things form, the way that things smell or taste, as long as it's safe to put in your mouth. You know, maybe don't put, you know, like stinging nettle in your mouth or something. That wouldn't be a good idea. We were talking about like poison ivy magic and poison ivy flowers, using that in magic. Now with that, you want to be careful, because 90% of the population is allergic to poison ivy. That's why we have those reactions. I think I might be one of the 10% or so that doesn't have a reaction, maybe.
Yeah, so it was that one friend I was talking about that did all the honeysuckle stuff.
Oh, yeah?
We'll send one of you fuckers to go get all of our poison ivy and you'll handle and work with it. But that is everywhere.
Yeah.
I love how the kudzu was kind of a joke last one, but it's like now I'm really like I want to use
kudzu.
this.
Yeah.
Yes. That is such a good idea.
Yeah. Or, if you're using protection magic or something like that, maybe find a blackberry bush. Because
With
there
all
are
the
thorns
thorns
on the blackberry bush.
There's a lot of those.
Yep.
And most of the time you can eat those berries. We're being real vague about what you can and can't eat on this. That's at your own discretion.
Yeah, I'm not going to be held responsible for what you do with your
berries.
stuff that you put in your body. I'm not advising you to put that stuff in your face hole or any other hole for that matter.
Yeah, we're all for having control over your own body. So if you want to
that's
suck on a piece of quartz, do it. It'll probably give you some, bringing in, when you talked about minerals, salt.
Yeah,
you can use salt for everything. You can put it in the water. You can, when you cleanse stuff, if you want to clean, you can smudge with incense, use it to pass through the smoke. If you have a certain crystal or piece of jewelry or something you want to cleanse, you can put it in water. Of course, you have to be careful of what's corrosive and what reacts with salt and or water. If there's something you can't get wet, see if you can't put it in some salt. Cover it up overnight. Leave it on your windowsill.
Or bury it.
Oh, yeah. Or bury it in the dirt. If there's something you can't put in salt, don't put your silver jewelry in salt. You don't put it in the water either. But yeah, I guess you could if you take it off. But you can always pass it through smoke from incense and stuff. So,
or some crystals are, self-cleansing. Like selenite never needs to be cleansed.
Yeah, so put it by that.
Put it, I like getting, large flat chunks of selenite. Or I have a little teeny tiny bowl of selenite that I'll put things in when they first come in, little tumbled stones and stuff like that. I'll put it on the little selenite plate.
Or if you're like me, you let stuff harbor all the energy for so long that you're kind of like, let's see what this does now.
Yeah.
Because it's been sitting here.
That's kind of like, I had somebody that tried to lecture me about not cleansing my tarot cards in between every reading on Twitch. God. And I was just like, you know what? I like my tarot cards to have a little stank on it.
It's the more use you put into it, the more...
Right. I don't want to cleanse all that away.
Yeah.
Why
would you blank slate?
I know. I'm not about that either. If that's what works for them, that's fine.
Yeah,
but
I guess that's true. If you want to do it that way.
That's how I want to do it.
Word.
And I don't appreciate somebody coming in and telling me that I'm doing it wrong.
I just told them kind of that they were doing it wrong. But you can do whatever you want. It's fine. That's what I do with we talked about pendulums. When I use it, I charged it, cleaned it. It stays in a certain spot on my altar so that it's just constantly in that flow and those connections with whatever I want it to be. Some stuff you might not want to cleanse every time, and that's fine because I don't think you have to. It's always good to do if you get it from somebody and you don't want that energy with it. That labradorite pipe that I gave you, you can leave all that energy in there. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
But like if you found it, if you got something at an estate sale and thought it was like really weird, you might want to cleanse that. To bring this back to local, those are just easy ways with salt. Like everybody has salt in their house, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
High blood pressure or something. But you've got salt. We fucking know you've got salt. And you've probably got honey or sugar. So this is just easy ways to don't ever feel like you've got to put on hold something you want to do. If you want to do it then and there. Sometimes I'm big on, I don't look up recipes or books and things. I don't look up certain spells. Like I know what I want and I know what I want from it. And I either use what I've gained in working with these things, or I'm just inspired by something, or I feel it. So I'll grab this, I'll grab that, and I'll go outside and I'll light a candle, dig a hole, do the thing.
Say some words
in the thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it is. And sometimes that's more effective than trying to do a whole ritual thing. But if the theatrics, the ritual clothing, and all this stuff works for you, then do it, because it's about getting in that mindset. The storm idea. That person, I really have been meaning to put a curse on them, and here's this fucking storm. I'm just going to do it. I'm all for using emotion.
I got a jar with a whole bunch of, googly eyes in it. I'm going to stick that person's name in there with some black salt.
Yeah.
And then we're going to see what they did.
Black salt is another one. We take ashes from the different Sabbats that we do, and my friend's really good about making Sabbat-specific salts.
Ooh.
Samhain ash and stuff. It might taste good, I don't know, but don't eat it. Use it in ritual. What we like to do, and I forget where this tradition comes from, we take a little bit of that ash salt. So you take that, and then we for Samhain, what we do is we keep, and Yule too, we do the same thing. We keep a little nugget of coal or ember that didn't burn. We let it cool off, put it in a little jar or baggie, and then the next year you add that to the start of your fire. So that you are continuing to...
the cycle.
Yeah, and but yet you're doing a new one. And then, so this one, you don't keep any of your previous years, and then you use this year's. And then we'll sprinkle that salt and bless the fire.
It's like the starter from, like, a sourdough bread or something.
Yeah, or like beer. You know, you've got
that's really cool.
That's what we do with Samhain and Yule, and, like, you can sprinkle that salt in there on the fire. And we like to get the smoke and just kind of, like, cleanse the area and ourselves, ready for whatever the night brings, whether that's ritual or burning a Yule log or something, because we're not always the best about doing the other Sabbats, but those are the two that we always
they're big deals in your household.
Yeah, they're always an event thing. We like to have people over and have that dinner. We do divination on Samhain and stuff like that. But anyway, not to get too far off topic with the local stuff. Again, those embers that burned that we keep using year over year probably came from the pine deadfall in the front yard. So there, I brought it back around. But like the salt, and I also wanted to jump from salt to the use of red brick dust and chalk.
Yes, I was just gonna bring
because
that
you can
up.
do that here. Like, what are some of the things that you can use with the red brick dust? It's very protective.
It's very protective. I always heard that you should sprinkle a line of it across the thresholds of your house, so windows and doors and stuff. Salt also works for that. You can make a blend even if you wanted to. Throw some graveyard dirt in there. You know, just have fun with it, really. So you can always do that. You can always put it into a jar, which is bottle type thing, for protection, and bury it either underneath your front door if you can get to it.
Ooh, I've done witch bottles, but that's a whole other thing.
Because there's all different kinds of witch bottles. So there's some that are for protection, and then there's some that are for shutting a bitch up.
Right. The idea of like the red brick, I'm sure you can come across a brick. All you'd have to do is bang it up with a hammer.
Yeah.
Powder it up.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about that kudzu, man.
I'm
like,
really...
if you wanted to, if somebody is like spreading false gossip about you, I almost feel like you could use kudzu for that, because you could almost overtake them and like smother them.
So, Cursecast episode 2, Kudzu.
Yeah.
This isn't even, that's all this is. We're going to do an episode on kudzu alone. Because it's like we accidentally opened a door here and...
I know. It's like I never realized how...
It's consuming.
It is.
It's invasive.
There's some insane magic with that I never really paid attention to.
And you can eat that.
Apparently.
Alton Brown says you can.
Alton Brown says you can. I would make sure that there haven't been,
And a nice salad. A newfound love for kudzu.
Definitely.
It everywhere.
Is everywhere. Is real pervasive. Just get really familiar with, the stuff that grows in your backyard. What about clover?
I was going to mention clover early with dandelions because my front yard gets those all the time, and the bees love all of that. So, like, I'll let it go a little bit because I don't like to cut it all. And, like, you see all these honeybees everywhere. Clover, I mean, well... If it's 3-leaf, which it usually is, you've got the connections to the 3 with Hecate,
and with lots of other triformis.
Yes,
as well.
The whole idea with, if you found a 4-leaf clover, which happens,
or
I would use that,
or 5, or 6, or
I would use that with luck work. Just go out there and ask, and they'll help you find it. I would use that with luck, something along that line.
Protection, money, love, fidelity, exorcism, success. So it's kind of all over the place. Magical uses. 2-leaved. If you find a 2-leaved clover, you shall soon also find a lover. 3-leaved. Trefoil or 3-leaved clover is worn as a protective amulet. 4-leaved. 4-leaf clover, if worn, helps men avoid military service. It also protects against madness, strengthens psychic powers, enables you to detect the presence of spirits, and leads the wearer to gold, money, or treasures. If 2 people eat a 4-leafed clover together, mutual love will result.
You have to, like, Lady in the Tramp it, or you have to...
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Okay.
I would imagine so. The 5-leaved clover is powerful for attracting money and should be worn for this purpose. And then white clover is used to work against hexes and is worn or scattered around the premises for this. Red clover, added to the bath, aids you in dealing with financial arrangements of every kind. Red clover is also used in lust potions, and the infusion is sprinkled to remove negative spirits. Just
a quick look shows that...
Yeah, there's so much that you can use clover. And let's go ahead, let's look for... dandelions. Dandelion has a number of medicinal properties. The sap from the stems can be used to cure warts, and the leaves can be dried and made into a tea to aid digestion. I did know that. A tincture brewed from the bright yellow flowers is believed to help with complaints related to the liver, and the root can be dried and brewed into a tea as well. Some people use dandelions to enhance psychic abilities. In some magical belief systems, the dandelion is associated with growth and transformation because, they turn into little puff balls. Which, that's magic too. Let's talk about that. Like wish magic and stuff too. Using that version of the dandelion, like the little puff pieces. So even the same plant, just using different parts of it.
Those are the seeds. So you've got growth there, and you've got...
You're starting with new ideas.
And who knows why that came off first with the wishes and stuff. Maybe it's related. Clover is good. I mean, that's everywhere. I don't know about all these white and red clovers, but at least the green clover you would have.
Well, they what they were talking about were like the flowers. So there's red clover flowers, and then there's white clover flowers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And those little things, what are they you can pick? Like they have the little arrowhead tops. You can
shoot them.
You can eat the leaves of those.
Can you really?
Yeah, I think. This is why I called it farm to altar, because we want you to make a salad out of all of this stuff and report back and let us know if you made it. We talked about the weather, using weather with the storm stuff. We talked about the plants. One thing we didn't kind of get into is if you find bones here. I mean, you've got all the cicada shells that you find on trees. I've seen magic where people like to stuff things in the shell and use for that. I don't know enough about it off the top of my head to mention it.
That's interesting.
But got that. And then, but if you find bones, that's just kind of a nice. Bones are a nice general way to connect to the other side. You can use it. Say you had the bones of a fox, you could connect to the fox with those bones, or you could just use general bones and something where you want to connect more to the other side. We went over working with spirits like that in the last one. Everybody can find a bone somewhere. Feathers, be careful about what you pick up feather-wise.
Yeah, there are some...
protected.
Yeah.
Any kind of bird of prey is protected here. If you find a feather, you can use that in all manner of things.
Great air magic, so great for creativity and inspiration. Using the right words. Maybe I should have some feathers right now.
Yeah, you can always find stuff just out and about. I can't tell you how many times we've been out in the woods or hiking, and one of the pockets of my backpack is full of stuff dirt, twigs,
and acorns. We didn't even talk about acorns.
Oh yeah, acorns are a good one.
Yeah. So acorns are really, really good. Of course, it connects to oak magic, and that of course would connect to Odin, and
there's a lot of Celtic connections too.
Yeah,
with acorns and oak. Even with Hecate, with oak, Brigid, all that. So yeah, an acorn is the seed. Yeah,
it's very much like I almost get if you're into tarot at all, I get lots of Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Wands sort of imagery with that. So it's very much about, starting that new venture, sort of planting the seeds for, tomorrow, that sort of thing. Also, because it's oak, it's good for protection. It brings luck, prosperity. So all kinds of reasons to use acorns.
We've used oak deadfall in our fires and Yule logs and such. And I really like cedar a lot.
Yes.
Cedar's everywhere here. I've got many things I've carved out of cedar.
Yeah.
And it smells great.
It does. And, it was used a lot back in the day to the thought was that it would prevent moths from coming in and eating the clothes and stuff. But not only that, but cedar is a very protective magic, and it's very good for removing negative entities and stuff like that out of a room. So a lot of times I'll burn cedar incense and stuff like that in order to cleanse.
I love cedar.
I do too. Plus, it smells so good.
Right. In my notes for this, when I put trees, I've left out, I think, kudzu, man. It just infected everything. It's spreading. It's got us. It's energy.
It's seriously, there's so much that I could think of that you could use that for. Lots of flowers, which are great for any kind of fertility or glamour magic or, self-love sort of acts or even offerings for deities or spirits that you work with. What about magnolia leaves? What could we use magnolia leaves for? Or like the little seed pods?
Yeah, there's got to be something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the flowers.
What stands out to you about a magnolia leaf? For me, it's like the duality of things.
One side is brown.
One side is that
like
kind
a
of
tan.
the brownish tan.
And it's almost like a paper bag, like brown paper feel.
Yeah.
And the top is so waxy and green and shiny.
There's some magic there. I almost feel like that could be like glamour magic or even maybe connecting to the other side. I think a lot of the same magic, again, with like the seed pod. I see a lot of like protection magic. And what about travel? It's a seed, so it's going and it's moving away to start somewhere new.
What are those little airplane ones?
Oh, the helicopter. The maple.
Yeah, they fall down and spin. Magnolia leaves placed under a mattress for marital happiness, fidelity, and mutual sexual attraction.
Ooh, okay.
That's all I got. No, that's just somewhere to buy it. Yeah, it looks like personal power, fidelity, goddess magic. Okay. Magnolia buds added to salad or fried can bring a sense of divine. Ooh. Magnolia twigs, buds, flowers, or leaves on your altar to connect to strong female goddesses like Venus, Hera. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I like the idea of that kind of two sides to one thing, the duality of it.
Or maybe even, if you're in a situation where you feel like the wool's being pulled over your eyes or something like that, maybe use magnolia leaves in a way so that you can see, the entirety of the story, not just the pretty shiny, one side of things.
Yeah. See the under dry side.
So you can see it as a whole instead of, just what they want you to see. Right.
Now, so that's a lot of plant work. We've done weather. The other thing that you can do, and you can call it magic, you can call it whatever, this connects to Hecate too, as one of a way to like do an offering to her, is help at your local animal shelters, to donate food. That's the other idea, that as a witch, when you feel like you serve the community and you're trying to help your village as a whole, is to donate your time, volunteer, things like that, with like animal shelters, homeless shelters, donate food, things like that.
Volunteer to go and clean up a park or a river or a stream or side of a road even. That also, if we're going to talk about, local witchcraft and stuff like that, I had a friend who actually used to live down the street from me here who would frequently, go out, would pick up roadkill on the side of the road and prepare the remains that were left, and she would actually decorate or use the bones within her own craft. So it was really
I've done
neat.
That.
Yeah. So, and I mean, be careful with birds and things like that, and always wear gloves. And I mean, it's not going to smell all that pretty, but you get used to it.
Wear gloves, be clean, because I mean it is decaying and decomposing, so there's going to be bacteria afoot. And it is going to stink. But, I mean, that's kind of what we do. It's like, it's not always honestly, pretty, but sometimes...
One of the things that she would say is that she would actually have one of the, the respirator masks, and she would actually put, a little drop of, vanilla essential oil or something like that.
That's fucking plague doctors did.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, it's kind of like having a pomade at the end of your nose and just being so it kind of helps the smell.
So, there you go. And sometimes it's nice to kind of recognize the unpleasantness / ugly side / dirty side, because witchcraft is not just bright, light, happy, fun, clean. Sometimes you've got to get dirt under your fingers. Sometimes you have to use the bones of something. You know what I mean? It's that duality. It's the liminal space between life and death, between everything. Not everything can be pretty, and sometimes you have to, get a little dirty to get shit done.
Yeah.
And so, with that idea, what are some things that, with the talking about the community and stuff and benefiting it and donating time, obviously you want to be able to, if you have any little area shops, things like that, support them. We support ours. It's easy to buy books off Amazon. It's easy to buy in bookstores, but you might pay a little bit more, but you're supporting your community. You want that there. If you like the shop and you like something that's there, if you can spend the extra couple bucks to buy the book there instead of on Amazon, guess what? That shop's going to be there for you next time you want something that you're not going to get on Amazon. But you build community. You get to know each other. That comes down with Can't Avoid, Talking Witchcraft, and being a community without where we are now with things. There's something to be said about that local witchcraft sometimes just being supporting other witches and other non-witches. They don't have to be witches. People that are suffering oppression and their rights being violated and taken away from them. If you're lucky enough to have yours, then use that. Use your voice. Coming from me, who is a straight white male, I try to use my voice as best I can because I know, unfortunately, by not any choosing of mine, it's louder than other people. That, to me, is witchcraft. I'm making change. I'm trying to affect change, and I'm trying to implement my will in when it's building up that community and helping fellow witches and non-witches. We don't want to be like just, but at the same time, it's like, if that's not a spell in of its own right, or a curse, or protection, then what is? We just talked about seeing stuff floating around too about how people don't want politics into the mention of witchcraft, but it's at its core political. And
witchcraft has always tended to be the refuge of the marginalized, the people who have had their power taken from them.
There's a reason people are scared of it.
Yeah. And because we can make things happen, and we don't need somebody else's permission in order to do it, because it's all self-taught, it's all self-led, and it's about taking your power back and learning how to raise your voice and use your voice and to question the norm. And I think that has always been inherently political. I think that it's incredibly important, especially in this day and age, for us to use our voice and use our craft to uplift others who may be in situations that are not as well off as we are. I have it a lot better than some people that are out there, but at the same time, there are other people out there who have it better than me because, they identify as male or they are able-bodied and I am disabled, So there are ways that, they can definitely use their voice in order to benefit me, but I can also use my voice to lift up the trans community or people of color or, any number of people who have been oppressed over the years. So I think that's incredibly important to consider within your own local community is how you can make that community better and fight for it to be a better, more wonderful community for everyone, not just the people who have the power.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I think that's a great way to view a local witchcraft and just being a local decent human being anyway. If you have the time, devote it to helping it, whether it's money, time, like I said, animal shelters, women's shelters, whatever you can. Learn the organizations in your area, which ones are legit and which ones aren't. Because we know the bigger ones can be full of shit.
Right. But at the same time, I'm also somebody who's registered as a clinic escort for Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
So, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do within your own village in order to make it a better place. And sometimes that means going and sitting in on city council meetings and making petitions to local or state or even federal government to change laws that are unjust or unfair.
Yes. And isn't that what the witch has always done?
Always.
Yes. Even offerings to local spirits, to hexing the patriarchy, to buying a book from your local witch shop. These are all things that you can do as a local witch and within your community. Again, it's something as a solitary witch and someone who's practiced with other solitary friends who don't necessarily practice together but get together for all this stuff. Having that community is something I didn't know at first that I thought would be so beneficial, but just to know you've got like a group that's got your back, and they don't even just have to live down the street from you. You can build online communities. Yeah, don't let that push you away from thinking like, oh, well, I don't know anybody around here, because some people aren't lucky enough to have or know or get out enough, but it's just make your own little coven, you know, and be a part of ours because we love it. We want to hear things that we could do to help you. Like, I mean, that's another reason for this podcast, not just pure entertainment, to give a voice to people that maybe can't just get out, have a group meeting, or don't feel comfortable online or something, and you just want to listen to this in your car. You're one of us. We're one of you. We want to expand our community and village. Everybody wants to change the world. I know I do. But the easiest way to do that is to start small and local. So why wouldn't your spells and witchcraft and your ingredients and all that fun stuff come from there and spread outward?
That's right. All right.
Sounds good.
Sounds excellent.
We're on point.
We're on point.
And don't forget, Kudzu is a thing.
It is edible. I was just gonna say. I think we need to sign off and go make ourselves a kudzu salad with some fried magnolia blossoms, apparently.
Yeah. How do those taste? Like a squash blossom. Those are good.
Ooh, those are good.
Or like grape leaves. Okay, so anyway.
All right, we're gonna go find something to eat.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Just remember, stay creepy and hex the patriarchy. Mm-hmm. Bye. Cursed is a bi-weekly podcast produced by Bones McWilliams and Cricket Word. Editing by Bones McWilliams and Nicholas Ely. The theme for Cursed is Voice of the Trees by Sun and Moon Dance. Check them out on Spotify, YouTube, or at sunandmoondance.bandcamp.com. Follow Cursed on Instagram, Twitter, and become a patron at patreon.com/cursedcast.
Sticks and stones and cricket and bones, but Nick is not on the show.